Hello creeps! Andy here. I have missed you. I'm so sorry. It's been a while. Had a little surgery, recovered. We're good. We're back now. So I'm very excited to get into today's video. I have my most anticipated horror/thriller books of 2026. I would say 90% of these authors I have read in the past, and only a few of them are new. So anyway, let's get started. A few of them I have already bought because, you know, we're a little late. We're running a little behind at the start of the year here, but that's okay. So I'm just gonna go through, tell you each of the books, and then I will read you the synopsis from Goodreads, and I'll let you know when each book comes out. So we're gonna start with the January books, so these books have already come out. Okay, so the very first book, this one came out January 13th. This one is called Anatomy of an Alibi by Ashley Elston. Now, a few years ago, I listened to her book, First Lie Wins, and I think I enjoyed it, but I listened to it on Audible and I listened to it over months. So by the end of the book, I couldn't really remember what happened from the beginning, but I think that structurally, I was pretty impressed with how the story wrapped up. Actually, let me move over so I can put the covers right here. This synopsis says, two women, one dead husband, and only one alibi. Everyone at Chantilly's bar noticed out-of-towner Camille Bayliss, red lips, designer heels, sipping a Negroni. But the woman wasn't Camille Bayliss, it was Aubrey Price. Camille Bayliss appears to have a picture-perfect life. She's married to a hotshot lawyer, Ben, and is the daughter of a wealthy Louisiana family. Only nothing is as it seems. Camila believes Ben has been hiding dirty secrets for years, but she can't find proof because he tracks her every move. Aubrey Price has been haunted by the terrible night that changed her life a decade ago, and she's convinced Benjamin Bayliss knows something about it. Living in a house full of criminals, Aubrey understands that there's more than just one way to get the truth, and she may have found the best way in. Aubrey and Camille hatch a plan. It sounds simple. For 12 hours, Aubrey will take Camille's place. Camille will spy on Ben, and the two women will get the answers they desperately seek. Except the next morning, Ben is found murdered. Both women need an airtight alibi, but only one has it. And one false step is all it takes for everything to come undone. So I don't know, this sounds pretty interesting to me, and from what I remember of the last book, I think I enjoyed the writing and everything, so I'm gonna give this one a read this year and see how it is. We do have a re-release. It's called We Should Have Left Well Enough Alone. This was released on the 27th of this month, and this is just a republished book from a few years ago. This is Ronald Malfi. It's just a bunch of short stories, so I'm sure I will pick this up eventually and read it. The next one we have here, this one's actually sounds so fun. Okay, this is one by an author that I have never read, but it just sounds like a blast. It's called I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200, and this is by Robert Brockway. Title, intriguing. Cover, intriguing. Just wait till you hear the synopsis. To lonely 8-year-old Kay Washington, the worst thing in the world is silence. That's why Eddie Video makes the perfect imaginary friend. He's smart, rambunctious, and loves pulling pranks. But most importantly, he's never ever quiet. 40-something immigrant Ivanon is a contract killer with an unusual imaginary friends who have overstayed their welcome. Is contract killer with an unusual? I think this means 4 unusual imaginary friends. Anyway, his only rule, no kids. Kids need their imaginary friends. But when one of Eddie Video's pranks goes too far and lands Kay in the hospital, Ivanon agrees maybe exceptions can be made. After all, rent is due. But Ivanon and Kay will soon learn Eddie Video is no ordinary imaginary friend. He is something much, much darker. A balance of comedy and catharsis, this dual narrative tackles both the fear of growing up and the scars our childhood leaves behind. Tell me that does not sound perfect. The very first rating here is Drop Dead Fred meets the Exorcist meets Coraline. Do you guys know the movie Drop Dead Fred? I loved that movie as a kid. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but if it's like that, I'm all in. So doesn't that sound so fun? So those are our January books. I haven't purchased that one yet. It hasn't been at my Barnes & Noble for whatever reason, so I'll have to pick it up eventually. Let's move on to February. I actually bought most of them. So this is Mary Kubica's It's Not Her, another thriller. This one came out February 3rd, and it just says, Courtney Gray's tranquil family vacation is shattered when she hears a blood-curdling scream from the lakeside cottage next door. There, she finds the lifeless bodies of her brother and sister-in-law. Her teenage niece, Reese, is nowhere to be found. Sorry, it's not funny, it just rhymed. Anyway, while her nephew Wyatt lies asleep upstairs unharmed. As the police descend on a quiet resort town, disturbing secrets about Courtney's family start to emerge. When she learns that the town has secrets of its own, it makes her wonder if Reese is another victim in a brutal crime or if she's the killer. Courtney begins to unravel the terrible mystery, but everyone around her has something to hide, and the closer she gets to the truth, the harder it is to see. I've liked Mary Kubica's books in the past. I saw she was coming out with a new one, and I was like, gotta pick this guy up. Also, love the coloring of this. Look at this bright ass orange book. Are you kidding me? It's so beautiful. And then the little inside cover is of the woods. I just think it's very, very pretty. Next up here, this is by another author I have never read before, but I saw this cover, I read the synopsis, or I saw the title, I read the synopsis, and I was like, gotta read this. It's called How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates by Shaylee Thompson. It says, when cinephile Jamie Prescott and her friend Lori attend a high-speed dating event, first of all, already seems like there's horror elements in there with those names. Jamie expects to meet some mediocre men and indulge in some street food afterward. She doesn't expect one of her dates to have his throat slit during a blackout. As more bodies hit the floor, it becomes clear that dating can be a very dangerous pastime. Armed with makeshift weapons and Jamie's knowledge of what not to do in a slasher, the remaining speed daters try to find an exit while the killer adds to the body count. When Jamie comes face to face with a murderer, she begins to suspect that he is committing the slayings to woo one of the daters and turn them into a real-life final girl. A man after my own heart. But Jamie has other plans. As she fights for her life, she finds herself ensconced in a love triangle with two of the other survivors. Will she make it through the bloodshed to find her happily ever after? Or does this machete-wielding psychopath have another ending in mind? Tell me this does not sound hilarious. It sounds so fun. So anyway, this bad boy came out February 3rd as well. And the next one that I have here is called Bedrot Baby. This is by Wendy Dalrymple. Look at this cover. Come on. Come on. Look at it. This author, I actually just read one of her books. It was something about I'll talk about it in my wrap up, but it was something like a demon party sleepover something. That one's a YA novel. This one seems more not like an adult novel, so we'll see, but that one was just a fun, silly, kind of like a Goosebumps type of read. This one says her life is falling apart, like literally. Being a sugar baby isn't all it's cracked up to be. After a failed art career and a failed relationship, Baby has lost her way. She's adrift in the post-Y2K pre-Facebook world and stuck in her Florida hometown, selling stolen goods online and working as a sugar baby. Even though she's hustling hard, there's still never enough money to pay the bills, and her long-suffering roommate is ready to put her out on the streets. One night, after a bad date with her sugar daddy, Baby is assaulted by a mysterious woman in a parking lot. The attack leaves her disoriented and exhausted, so Baby takes to her bed to lie there and rot, like for real. With every passing day, Baby's looks and health decline in a strange and horrific way. Soon it becomes apparent that the strange woman who assaulted her had something to do with her declining state. Baby needs to find her attacker, reclaim her life and her beauty, and get her shit together once and for all. But at what cost? Bedrot Baby is a pink horror meditation of self-discovery through self-destruction and the real cost of self-image, self-esteem, and beauty. Come on, that sounds great. So excited to read those. And then the last one in February that I actually haven't gotten yet, but it is by an author that I have read, is Nowhere Burning. This one came out February 24th, and it's by Catriona Ward. I read one of her books last year, and it was just such a weird, unique book that I'm excited to kind of see what this one's about. But this says, set in the unforgiving maw of the Rocky Mountains, Nowhere Burning is the latest harrowing novel from bestselling author Catriona Ward. Perfect for fans of Riley, whatever. A refuge for lost children may also be their prison. In the middle of the night, Riley pulls her younger brother Oliver out of bed, and the two run away from home. Riley is intent on joining a group of teenagers squatting in the abandoned ruins of an infamous movie star's ranch, Nowhere. For actor Leif Winham, Nowhere was a place to hide from his fame and to hide from his crimes until a fire ravaged his home and exposed him as a murderer. It's rumored that the ranch nestled in the peaks of the Rocky Mountain is now home to a group of feral children, a place where adults cannot enter, and Riley hopes to find a new family there. But the Nowhere kids are fierce in defending their turf and their clan, and Riley quickly realizes that while she and Oliver have left the devil they knew, the group This group is a new type of diabolical. For something dark lives in the burnt shell of nowhere, something which asks a terrible price for sanctuary. You guys know that the Manson caves, not the ranch that they lived at, but the actual underground caves, are probably like an hour away from my house. I've always wanted to go there, but I'm always so, well, one, I don't think I could go inside because I am way too claustrophobic, but two, I can't imagine who's living in there now, you know? But they are nearby. Anyway, that kind of reminds me of like a, maybe based on a Manson kind of thing, but with a twist. So we'll see. Unfortunately, there are no new books out in March. I'm like, hello, it is my birthday month. Can I get some new authors releasing books in March? What is happening? Isn't that crazy? They're all kind of bundled together in each of these months, and March is just left out. What a bummer, man. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Okay, this one I'm actually really excited for. This is Kylie Lee Baker's Japanese Gothic. This one is to be published April 14th. And I'm excited for this one because I did like her writing style in the last book, but I just hate apocalyptic, COVID-related books. So I'm actually excited to see kind of what she does with something different and a subject matter that I don't despise reading about. So I'm excited to read this one. It says October 2026. Lee Turner doesn't remember how or why he killed his college roommate. The details are blurred and bloody. All he knows is that he has to flee New York and go to the one place that offers refuge, his father's new home in Japan, a house hidden by sword ferns and wild ginger. But something is terribly wrong with the house. No animals will come near it. The bedroom window isn't always a window, and a woman with a sword appears in the yard when night falls. October 1877. Sen is a young samurai in exile hiding from the imperial soldiers in a house behind the sword ferns. A monster came home from war wearing her father's face, but Sen would do anything to please him, even turn her sword on her own mother. She knows the soldiers will soon slaughter her whole family when she sees a terrible omen, a young foreign man who appears outside her window. One of these people is a ghost and the other of these stories is a lie. Wait, this sounds so interesting. Something is hiding beneath the house of sword ferns and Lee and Sen will soon wish they never unburied it. That sounds so cool. So I'm really excited to read this one. Next up, it would not be a year if I did not talk about Ronald Malfi because I love him so much. And he has a new book called The Hive that is coming out April 14th. So pretty soon. It says an epic Lovecraftian horror novel in the vein of Black River Orchard and American Elsewhere, about a small town that becomes obsessed with a series of random objects left strewn across their town in the aftermath of a storm. From the Bram Stoker Award winner and best-selling author, the residents of Mariners Cove are changing. In the aftermath of a violent storm, a collective obsession is rapidly developing among people of this quaint suburban neighborhood. Random everyday items left scattered upon lawns, the streets, the shoreline, all seem to call out to them. There is an item for almost everyone, and each item has a certain hold over the person who finds it, a hold that soon turns into unwavering infatuation. They hide their items from each other, obsess over them, and they will do anything to protect them. The collective hum of bees' wings. A young boy finds himself the possessor of a strange and inexplicable power. Is this arrival of this new power linked to the increasingly odd and dangerous behavior of the residents of Mariners Cove? Has he been granted this power in order to thwart whatever is about to happen in the small town, Bayside community, or is there a more sinister purpose? All hail the dragon. All eyes are on him now. The residents of Mariners Cove are watching. They move as one, like a solitary organism, and will do anything to succeed in their single-minded purpose. They will not be stopped. Release it now. I need it now. I want to read it this instant. This next one here is The Caregiver by Marcus Kuehler. I still don't know how the heck to pronounce his name. He is the author of We Used to Live Here. And this bad boy comes out April 21st. The description on this one says, follow the rights. Nothing less than survival of humanity is at stake. From Marcus Kuehler, blah, 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 blah. Comes a supernatural horror about a young woman who accepts a caregiving job from Craigslist, only to discover the position has consequences far greater and more dangerous than she could have ever imagined. Exciting opportunity. Caretaker, urgently needed. 3 days of work. Competitive pay. Serious applications only. Macy Mullins can't say why the job posting grabbed her attention. It has the pull of a fisherman's lure, barbed hook and all, vaguely ominous. But after an endless string of failed job interviews, she's not exactly in the position to be picky. She has rent to pay, groceries to buy, and a younger sister to provide for. Besides, it's only 3 days work. 3 days cooped up in a stranger's house, surrounded by the Oregon coast wilderness. What starts as a peculiar side job soon becomes a waking nightmare, not walking. An incomprehensible evil may dwell on this property, and Macy Mullins might just be the only thing standing between it and the rest of humanity. Follow the rights, follow the rights, follow the rights. And then there's something in Morse code. Did I decipher this? I thought I deciphered this. Oh, it's numbers. Yes, I remember. So, yeah, if it's anything like We Used to Live Here, there's probably some hidden codes and stuff. I thought his next book would be a second to We Used to Live Here, but yeah, it looks like he went in a different direction. So I'm excited to see what that one's about. Next up here, I'm not sure if it's pronounced Mulka, but this is by Monica Kim, the author of The Eyes Are the Best Part. And so she has a new book coming out, depending on if you're looking at Goodreads or on Amazon, either April 28th or April 30th. And also just know going into this, some books have a hard launch and some books have a soft launch, meaning sometimes you could find them in a bookstore a few days before the date that they're actually published. And sometimes they have only, like, the stores have to hold on to them and only put them out on the exact day that they're published. So you could potentially find these a few days before and after, you know? And yeah, I'm not sure why this one has different dates depending on what website you look at, but it is what it is, baby. Okay, so this says Mulka, noun, the Korean term for spy cameras secretly and illegally installed, often to capture voyeuristic images and videos. Da-yi can't believe her luck when she finds herself in a whirlwind romance with handsome, charismatic Yuk-jun, the heir to a multi-million-dollar fortune. But then a shocking revelation threatens. The couple has been caught on a spy cam amid Korea's growing Mulka epidemic, and the video is all over the internet. When Yuk-jun flees the country to avoid the intense public scrutiny, Da-yi is left to grapple with the ramifications of her own, and the demons from her childhood, long dormant, begin to surface. Among the chaos, she catches the attention of Jun Young, a nerdy, introverted IT tech at work. Jun Young harbors a dark secret, and he has been spying on the women at work with his own hidden cameras. As Da-yi's life begins to unravel, she unknowingly becomes the sole target of Jun Young's perverse obsession. When the facts surrounding the invasion of her privacy comes to light, Da-yi is forced with a humiliating truth. Her pain and hurt turn to rage as she faces her past. Her desire for vengeance is insatiable, and she will not rest until the men who have wronged her have paid in blood. I'm interested to see how this kind of female rage plays out in this book. Okay, so now let's move on to May. We got a few books here. This one I am so excited for. This one I just randomly came across. It's called Decomposition Book by Sarah Van O's. And first of all, cover, already interested in it. You know, I like the title. This sounds very interesting. Did I already say when this was coming out? May 19th. This says, an emotional, electrifying, and darkly hilarious debut about a woman who finds a dead body and can't give up its ghost. For fans of whatever. Spiraling from a disastrous falling out with her best friend, Savannah retreats to her parents' empty lake house in upstate New York to tend her wounds. Isolated and feeling rejected, she spends her days in a fog, drinking and overthinking in an equally worrisome measure, until she wakes up one morning in the woods, behind the house, next to a dead body. Instead of calling the police, Savannah reads the journal she finds nearby, reliving the last desperate months of the woman's life in the wilderness, fighting for survival. Ava, it turns out, is more than just a cold, lonely corpse. She was funny, she was smart, and Savannah has finally found someone she can talk to. Oh, friendship, so beautiful. As she pushes deeper into Ava's harrowing story, Savannah notices a change, a shift in her reality. Each page brings her closer to Ava from the journal and the ghost before her now. Before long, Savannah feels something for Ava she hasn't felt for anyone else. And there's a good chance letting go will haunt her for the rest of her life. Is Savannah finally losing her grip? I would say so if she finds a dead body and it becomes her best friend. Or has she found the friend she's needed all along? Maybe that's what we're all missing. Maybe we just need a dead body to discuss life with. Anyway, sounds super interesting. This one is probably top of my list, most excited for this year. This is called Bone of My Bone. It's out May 26th, and this is by Johanna Van Veen. But again, I've heard other people pronounce her name different ways, so I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But anyway, she was one of the top, if not I think maybe it was my favorite book of last year. I don't know. I'll have my rankings of my 2025 books. I know, I'm sorry, I'm late. It's been a long few months, okay? But I will have that for you soon. And I'm pretty sure her book was my top rated book of the year. But anyway, this bad boy is coming out. I am so stoked about it. First of all, look at that cover. And here's the description. Bram Stoker's nominee, blah, 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 unveils a sapphic, folk horror tour de force. Perfect for fans of The Witch and The Salt Grows Heavy, A Skull's Grin is Eternal. The year is 1635. Sister Ursula, a young nun fleeing the ruins of her convent, and Elsbeth, a sharp-witted peasant, escape a band of marauding soldiers and disappear into the Bavarian forest. War scorched the land and no one survives it alone. Amid the devastation, they find something in the arms of the gilded skull of a saint. It is said that if you reunite the saint's skull with its body, a wish will be granted. Desperate for salvation, and each with a secret desire of their own, Ursula and Elsbeth follow a ragged map across the brightened countryside. I was just thinking, I feel like that was such a trope in older, probably books too, but I was thinking more movies. And I was thinking, I'm like, man, we need a good like adventure map story. So it seems like Bone of My Bone has come through for that. It says, but darkness follows them. A necromancer drawn to the relic's power, the saint herself whispering at night. And as the lines between blessing and cursed blur, the women must face a harrowing. The magic they seek comes at a cost. Must face a harrowing? The woman must face a harrowing. The magic they seek comes at a cost. I'm sure it's written correctly. My brain just can't comprehend how. But anyway, at the journey's end, they'll face an impossible choice. One that could tear apart everything they've known or bind them to each other forever. I love her stories. I am very excited. Now we have this one here, which I am very excited for because I just read this author for the first time. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. Hildur Nutsdatter? I don't know, correct me. But this is called Dead Weight. This bad boy will be published May 26th as well, so same as Bone of My Bone. And I actually just read this author's story, The Night Guest, and I had come across it a few times in the bookstore, and again, I'll talk about it more in my reading wrap up, but it has a really low rating, so I never thought too much of it. And then it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna read this. Oh my god, it was one of my favorite books so far this year. So I'm really excited to read this. This is her new book that came out this year, and it says, an Icelandic knight may hide secrets and affairs, or even bodies, in this gruesomely cathartic horror thriller from the author of The Night Guest. Anur was living a normal, if lonely, life until a black cat shows up at her door. Trying to do the right thing, Anur reunites the lost pet with its owner, a young woman named Asta. It has an accent mark though, so I'm not sure. Who is desperate need of some help. Anur reluctantly agrees to take the cat until Asta is able to care for it herself. Soon Asta becomes a fixture in Anur's life, and the two form an unlikely friendship. But like a black cat, trouble is tailing Asta, and Anur is the only one there when things take a violent turn. Nothing tests a friendship like blood on your hands. I don't know, sounds pretty interesting. So those all seem great and well, but let's add some humor to the mix here, or at least that's what it seems. This one is called The Summer Fun Massacre. This one's out June 26th, so just in time for the summer heat. This is by Craig DeLuey, so the author of... Fuck, I always forget what that's called because I mix it up with the other vampire book. Suffer the Children. That's the one I was thinking of. Okay, anywho. That is the only book that I've read from him, but this one just seems like a fun summer book. You guys know I love reading the books of the season in each month, so I think this is just going to be a fun one to pick up in June. But it says, surviving the massacre is just the beginning, and this razor-sharp take on the summer camp slasher from horror master Craig DeLuey. Summer 1983, a blood-soaked summer camp counselor is found staggering down a country road. The sole survivor of a horrific massacre, Mary tells the nightmare of a masked maniac wielding wielding an old skinning knife. Yeah, skinning knife. Arriving too late to help, her boyfriend Tom Bailey is plagued by the guilt. Summer 1992. The camp reopens as Camp Summer Fun. Now a sheriff's deputy, Tom doubts this a good idea, but the camp has been refurbished and the counselors hired and the little campers are on their way. Responding to reports of blood-curdling howl near the camp, he arrives too late to save anyone except a single brutalized teen. The killer nowhere to be found. Hoping to catch the killer and finally right his mistakes, Tom reconnects with Mary. She's convinced that the killer is not human, but instead a rural legend known as the Hungry Hare. The sheriff wants the case closed, but refuses to believe in folklore. Mary dreams of the revenge of her friends, and Tom hunts for traces of a real or fictional. But the murderer could be closer to home than anyone expects. The hare is coming and is so hungry. So this just seems, I guess when I meant funny, not like a humorous book, but more just like a campy 80s slasher book. But I don't know, maybe it'll be more serious. I guess we will see. All right, we got 2 more books coming out in June. This one is a thriller by Lisa Jewell. This is It Could Have Been Her. So this one is coming out June 23rd, and Lisa Jewell, obviously I love her thriller books. This one says Jewell brings her signature dark atmospheric suspense and sharp acuity to this new psychological thriller about a lost dog, a missing woman, and a mysterious house. Jane Trevally is walking her dogs on her country estate on one May afternoon when a small white dog appears. The teenage girl that has been staying nearby with the dog is nowhere to be found, and Jane decides to return the dog to his registered owner's his registered owner hours away in London, in the deepest black waters of Hampstead. But when Jane arrives, she is immediately unsettled because Jane has a dark history with this house. The man who answers the door tells her the dog Hugo must have been stolen from Heath, but Jane very much doubts that that is true. Through the window, she catches a glimpse of a haunted-looking woman, not the missing girl she'd hoped to find, facing a crossroads similar to the one that leads her to this home 25 years ago. Jane knows that the house holds the key to the missing teenager, to the lost dog, to the dark secrets they'd all rather leave buried. That sounds interesting. And I feel like if I were ever going to get myself mixed up in any sort of like horror movie scenario, it would be chasing a lost dog or finding a lost dog. So I'm actually really excited for that one. Sounds pretty interesting. We got one more for June here. And this is actually by Paul Tremblay. This is called Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep. It's obviously a play on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? So I think this is his kind of step into sci-fi, which is pretty interesting because the books that I've read from him haven't really had any sci-fi elements in them. This one comes out June 30th. This is the author of The Cabin at the End of the World. This is the author of Horror Movie. This is the author of, oh gosh, what's the one about the ghosts? A Head Full of Ghosts, that's what it is. So a lot of great books here. So let's see what this one's about. Oh yeah, Philip K. Dick meets the Coen brothers in this genre-bending near future tech nightmare that is as bitingly funny as it is horrifically believable, from the New York Times, blah, blah, blah. Meet Julia Flang, a 20-something former semi-professional gamer living with her retired uncle and working 2 jobs she doesn't like. Out of the blue, her estranged mother, a CFO for one of the world's largest tech companies, offers her a temp job with a payday Julia can't refuse. One sham interview later, she's offered to chaperone a man. Is it me or is it these descriptions? I'm not understanding. She's offered to chaperone. Okay, no, that's not me, right? A man in a vegetative state, one with propriety AI implanted in his head, from California to the East Coast. To sum up in Julia's own, you want me to remote control this dead guy across the country. In a word, yes. But he's not dead. Meet a middle-aged man who wakes within a disoriented hellscape filled with monstrous grotesqueries. Worse than the fluid, morphing reality in which he's trapped, he has no memory of who he is. He certainly doesn't remember getting the rabbit tattoo on his arm, and he only knows that he must find a certain person. Who? He can't remember. Using a cell phone modeled after a video game controller, Julia fumbly navigates the man she calls Bernie from the company campus onto planes and through one of the largest airports in America. All the while, the man endures an ever-changing and worsening nightmare that offers clues as to who he is as to who he was and who he must track down. And as their two lives intertwine, Juliet and Bernie become unlikely allies and fugitives on a collision course with reality. Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep is a heady, horrific genre bending from one of the most groundbreaking voices in fiction today. A horrific genre bender, sorry. That one was my bad. So yeah, I don't know. Kind of excited to see what he does with some sci-fi elements in there. Let's move on to July then. July 14th. This is by Silvia Moreno Garcia. You guys know her. You love her as the author of Mexican Gothic and The Bewitching. Next up here we have The Intrigue. This says, comes a sizzling noir about desire, danger, and greed, in which seduction is the ultimate con. Handsome con artist Ulysses has long charmed lonely women via letters to steal their money. But money is hard to come by in 1940s Mexico. Ulysses knows his looks won't last forever, and he's desperate to get his hands on a real fortune. He thinks he's found it when he captivates his youngest newest correspondent, Perla, the owner of the small town boarding house in picturesque Veracruz. But when he meets her, he finds something he didn't expect. The woman has a niece, Inés, who is as observant, I'm not sure, who is as observant as she is desperate to escape her aunt's household. When Inés discovers Ulysses' true intention, she wants in on the scheme. She'll convince her aunt that Ulysses is a great catch, Perla will marry him, and her money will vanish. Easy, fun, and clean. But Perla is not that desperate, silly spinster Ulysses imagines. She harbors secrets. And although Ulysses does not believe in true romance, Inés is more alluring than he bargained on. Suddenly, a simple plan may become perilously complicated. Venture into the streets of the small town, where the patina of convention and good manners conceals a cauldron of avarice and lust. Love Mexican Gothic. Maybe that was my favorite book of the year. Anyway, top 5 of my favorite books of last year. So really excited to read her new book. Okay, one sec. My hands feel so dry. I need lotion. I need chapstick. I need water. I need a grease. Okay, sorry. Just tired from hearing myself talk so much. Okay, this next bad boy here is out July 14th, and this is Riley Sager's new book. It's called The Intrigue, and it looked like this. The Unknown. Did I say The Intrigue? That was the last one. Sorry, it's called The Unknown. All right, I still actually haven't read Riley Sager's book from last year, so I'm a little behind on his work. But this one says, 1926, 5 women disappeared from a remote island in Vermont. Now, 100 years later, it's happening again. Struggling actress Maren Keene is shocked when she lands a role in a major motion picture about the unsolved mystery of New Avalon, an island on sprawling Lake Faraday in Vermont. She's even more surprised when she learns that the role requires a week-long research trip to the very spot, because New Avalon isn't your ordinary island. Oh, no. A century ago, it was a commune for spiritual mediums until they all vanished in 1926. The only trace of them was 5 dresses hanging from the branches of an old oak tree in the middle of the island. Ooh, kind of spooky. One for each missing woman. Some locals say they simply left, others think they were murdered, but the prevailing opinion, thanks to a diary left behind by one of the vanished, a young woman named Daisy Rue, is that a seance gone wrong conjured something supernatural that took them all one by one. Not long after arriving, Maren and her castmates, including legendary actress Violet Wright and the white-hot director Ronan Peters, begins to realize all is not right with New Avalon. They hear strange noises in the night and notice mysterious symbols left behind by the island's previous occupants. And after a sudden health emergency, leaves Maren, Ronan, and the other actors stranded on the island, the disappearances begin again. Is this the work of someone trying to derail the movie? Or is the island's alleged supernatural past catching up with its present? As fear and suspicion mounts, Maren turns to Daisy's diary, hoping it holds the key to figuring out what really happened to the women of New Avalon and how to keep the island's terrible history from repeating itself. So that actually sounds really spooky and creepy. I'm actually quite excited for that one. All right, next up here we have The Shadow Friends. This bad boy comes out August 25th, And this is number 3 in a series called The Martini Club. This is by Tess Gerritsen. I always rave about her work. And I'm not going to read it to you because it's the 3rd one. I don't know if it's going to give away any of the past... Oh, okay, that's rude. Okay, sorry, my camera died. But basically, the first one, because I haven't read the second one yet, even though I think I do own it. I should get to that. The first one is about this group of old retired CIA agents. They live in Maine and nobody knows that they're retired CIA. Something happens where one of their past catch up with them, and the local town, kind of everyone doesn't think anything of them. You know, they're old retired people. They're like, oh, whatever, you're old, you don't matter. But they're still obviously retired CIA agents, and so they solve things before the cops do, and it's like a spy story. It's actually, I think, the first spy story I've ever read. So anyway, the 3rd one's out this year, so I will be picking that bad boy up on August 25th. Now let's move on to September, which is actually the busiest month so far. This bad boy, depending again on where you look, is either out September 8th or August 31st. So I don't freaking know. But this one is Rachel Harrison's Kiss, Slay, Repeat. You guys know I freaking love Rachel Harrison. So this one says, every wedding guest's worst nightmare is on repeat in this wild and twisty new horror novel from blah, blah, blah. She's the author of So Thirsty, Play Nice, The Cackle? Cackle. The venue is dreamy and the weather is beautiful, love is in the air, and Willa Sullivan is having a bad time. She's excited to celebrate her best friends finally having the big wedding they've always wanted, but this is the first time she's seen her ex-fiancé in months, and he brought a date. Everything feels off, like she stumbled into an alternate universe, but things start to look up when Willa meets Danny, the groom's charming and single childhood best friend. When they sneak off together, their rendezvous is interrupted by a masked killer terrorizing the reception. First of all, I think a wedding is just the perfect place for a horror book to take place. Just the juxtaposition is fantastic. I'm already so excited for this. Willa and Danny fight to save the ones they love and survive the night, but the killer is unrelenting. A final girl Willa is not. Or is she? She wakes up and it's the morning of the wedding. She just had the most intense nightmare of her life. Only as the day unfolds, there are some uncanny coincidences that make her question whether it was a dream, deja vu, or something more sinister. After a horrifying turn of events, Willa comes to understand that she's stuck in a loop of carnage and terror, that she must learn how to escape or else suffer the fate worse than death, being an eternal wedding guest. Oh, that sounds lovely. Interesting how that's going to work in book form and not feel repetitive. So yeah, kind of excited to see that. This next one is kind of interesting here. This is by Lucy Foley. I've been waiting for another Lucy Foley book for a while. She's the author of The Guest List, The Paris Apartment, The Hunting Party, The Midnight Feast. This one is an Agatha Christie book. We'll see how this one goes, but this is called Murder at the Grand Alpine Hotel. It's by Lucy Foley. It's expected out September. Now I don't know because I wrote September 8th, but this says expected September 22nd. Also, I'm sure these dates are arbitrary and can change as well. But for right now, it says expected September 22nd. And this bad boy says, it still sounds fun, which is why I'm still going to pick it up. I don't know that I love the idea of using characters from Agatha Christie books. Like, if you just want to make a whodunit, just make a whodunit, you know? So, I don't know. But I love Lucy Foley, so we'll see what she does. But it says, high in the Swiss Alps, and obviously perfect location for a thriller book. Accessible only by a single winding railway stands the luxurious Grand Alpine Hotel. With glorious mountain views and the elusive access to powdery slopes, it draws guests from far and wide. The notorious actress, the high-flying politician, the society wife, the reckless friend, the shrewd doctor. But not everyone is here for a winter holiday. Beneath the champagne and furs, dark histories simmer. Old grudges emerge like cracks in ice, and someone is watching from the shadows. A polite, unassuming woman with an extraordinary mind. Miss Marple. First of all, this bitch has been dead for like 300 years. When a body is found and the blizzard cuts off all escape, only Miss Marple can connect the clues before the killer strikes again, because it isn't a question of who has motive, but who's next. So, I don't know, I have mixed feelings on that one going in. Like, do I think we need to resurrect Miss Marple from the dead? Probably not. I don't think that I don't know. I don't know why, I guess. But we'll see. Maybe Lucy Foley has like a history with Agatha Christie books, and that's her reasoning for it. I'm not really sure, but I'll still read it because I love her. Gardenias. No, I still spelled it wrong. Gardenias. How the fuck do you spell gardenias? God damn it. The house of gardenia. Dude, is that not how you spell gardenias? How am I spelling this wrong? There's an E. Whew, that took a while to get here. This is the house of, well, now I feel like it's not even gardenias, but I think it's gardenias, by Isabel Cañas, and she is the author of The Hacienda, Vampires of El Norte, The Possession of Alba Diaz, which was one of my favorite books last year. This is expected September 29th, and this is actually a gothic YA novel, which I'm not usually into YA novels, but it's her, and I loved The Possession of Alba Diaz, so I'm going to make an exception and still read this one. But it says 16-year-old Minerva. Oh yeah, no, this is the different author from the other book that had the Bewitching. The main character in The Bewitching was also called Minerva. So I was thinking, wait, was that the same author? But no, it's a different author. Okay, anyway. 16-year-old Minerva has spent her whole life in the slums of the capital city of an unnamed country that resembles colonial Mexico. Though she lives in the shadows of constant government turmoil, her empty belly and her father's brutality don't leave time for politics, especially since her older brother ran away. Minerva can't take another beating or miss another meal, so she flees to a wealthy loyalist neighborhood to win a job as a lady's maid to an elderly widow. Minerva and Encarnacion del Valle, the proud and acerbic widow from an unlikely duo. They are both survivors in their own way, stubborn and used to being underestimated. For a time, Minerva is happy. She has food and safety in a house lit and warmed. Why should she care who runs the country or how her employer afford the magic? But when the viceroy sweeps back into the power on a wave of horrific bloodshed that sweeps away the hope Minerva had for seeing her brother again, Encarnacion retreats to the Del Valle's mountainside estate and Casa de la Gardenias. Minerva finds herself surrounded by dozens of more experienced servants and the cruel, scheming younger Del Valles. But the living are the least of anyone's worries in the Casa de las Gardenias. And soon Minerva discovers that the ancient estate is home to forces far older and more bloodthirsty than the fascist Del Valles or the liberal guerrillas amassing in the surrounding wilderness. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how I'll feel about a YA novel, but it doesn't, like, I mean, it seems like it's pretty deep concepts and stuff. So I don't know. I'm excited for it though. We will see. Next up here, we have a book called Crone. This one is expected out September 29th as well. So again, you guys know that Keith Rawson had one of my favorite books of last year as well, Coffin Moon. So we have this bad boy, but it says that it's about a haunting, fearsome story of a father searching for his missing daughter and finding darkness, both human and not, at every turn from the author of this exciting, suspenseful, horrifying, those were quotes from Stephen King, Fever House. Eli Lamp is a broken man, an ex-detective, ex-addict, long-grieving father whose daughter Hannah disappeared a decade before. Eli decimated his whole life investigating her abduction and is now indebted to Crooked Wheels, a local drug gang, as an enforcer. He lives in a rundown trailer at the edge of the woods where he keeps Hannah's room in pristine condition and tries to make it through one day at a time. But when the son of the Crooked Wheels boss is found viciously murdered in a crime scene that doesn't seem to add up, Eli receives I don't know if I am just the dumbest person alive and don't understand sentences. Eli receives a new find out who the killer is Eli receives a new find out who the killer is. Okay, I think punctuation is my enemy in this instance. Find out who the killer is and your debt to the wheel is clear forever. You're free. This pursuit brings him into the orbit of Avery Bryant, Hannah's best friend, and the last person to see her before she went missing. Soon, Eli and Avery are entwined in the hunt for answers that spans decades, stretching the realm of possibility and brings churning to the surface a conspiracy linking not only these current tragedies, but the buried sorrows of Eli's past. And though none of them dare to say the word witch, at least not out loud, something lurks in the woods. Bent-backed and black-eyed, clawed and vengeful, looming ever closer. Ooh, that gave me goosebumps. And then we have one last book here, Buds, and that's out October. There's only one book that's out October that I found so far. I'm sure I'm also missing some, obviously. So Rachel Louise Adams wrote a book called No Rest for the Wicked last year that I absolutely loved. And there's actually a second one coming out. Look at this cover, already obsessed with it. This one's called Where There's Smoke. And so it's a sequel to the first book. I think I already read this and I don't think it gave anything away about the last book. But anyway, following No Rest for the Wicked, Rachel Louise Adams returns with Where There's Smoke. This one's out October 6th, by the way. A lot has happened in Dolores Hawthorne's life ever since the events of last Halloween. She's divorced, traded being a forensic pathologist for a job as a medical examiner, and now lives in a small town in Wisconsin, close but not too close to her family. Dolores doesn't have much in the way of work, but that all changes when a body is found at the local slaughterhouse. Benedict Marcy owned Marcy's Meats and is affectionately called Mr. Marcy across the region. The high-profile case quickly catches the attention of Dolores's friends at the FBI. From the very beginning, the case is full of contradictions and surprises, and the team quickly learns someone is willing to go to extreme lengths to stop them from finding out the truth behind Benedict Marcy's murder. So I really liked the first one of these, and I was stoked when I saw that there was a second one coming up. Anyway, those are my most anticipated books of the year. So glad to be back. I have missed you guys enormously. I'm really excited to get back into making videos here for you. I've got my January and February wrap up coming up. I will also rank my books from 2025 as well as the best horror books that came out in the year published in 2025. So I got all those coming up for you soon. And yeah, I will see you soon. So glad to be back. Thanks for hanging out with me. See ya with another horror video in a bit. Bye guys.